A lawsuit coming out of Colorado claims that a pro-Trump group is sending people door to door to get in people's face and question them about their voting habits, and that the groups are armed in some cases while doing it. So this is awesome all around. The lawsuit alleges that the US Election Integrity Plan, which is led by Sean Smith, an ally of former Trump strategist Steve Bannon, and why not, MyPillow founder Mike Lindell, is sending armed members door to door in areas with large numbers of voters of color, questioning people about how they voted and taking photographs of their homes. So this lawsuit is being backed by a number of different groups, including the state chapter of the NAACP, the League of Women Voters, and Mi Familia Vota. Alleges that the voter intimidation campaign violates the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1971, a post-Civil War law aimed at preventing white vigilantes from terrorizing black people to stop them from voting. And you can sort of see where they're coming from with some of those claims, because if you're sending people down to ask people about their private voting behavior, they're packing firearms while they're doing it, they're taking photos of your house. How could a regular person not feel terrorized by that, Francesca?
I mean, a part of me dies every time you realize that we're in a moment in 2022 when laws from 1871 have to be applied because of how racist this country is still. And how emboldened, as we just talked about. I mean, this is continuing. How the hell is this even legal? And guys, your buddies in the Senate have got it all on lock. Your buddies in state senates have got it all on lock. They're completely gerrymandering and voter suppressing and removing polling stations, removing mail-in ballots. They're making it very hard for black and brown people in the United States to vote. So don't you worry. You don't have to go around with your guns anymore because now it's all legal, right? Yeah. So it's so disheartening and disgusting, and I hope that there's something done about that. But again, man, you think about like, well, who's there to protect us? The police. Well, and do we have to get into the long legacy of the KKK and the police working in tandem to suppress black people's right to vote or to live or just exist as a human in society? So these are the moments that I think it's really important for folks on the left to remember that, this whole like idea that we're gonna somehow woo the right through economic populist ideas. No, we need to defeat racism, right? Now, I do believe that a certain way is a multiracial, multi-ethnic coalition that centers economic, social safety net and economic policies. That's important, but don't get it twisted. A lot of these Trump supporters, they don't care if Trump delivered on the economy. They don't care if their lives are any better so long as they can continue to blame people of color and immigrants. Yeah. That's their bread and butter. What are we doing about that?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said. They love the feeling of being elevated to a position of authority and moral superiority. That is what this movement is about. It is about the right identifying themselves as better. They like going door to door and intimidating people. Some of them, some small percentage, they're a fan of this. They get off on it. And for plenty of people, it won't have an effect. But for some, it's just an added layer of trying to manipulate the vote. You identified so many of the ways that they do that with gerrymandering legislation, voter suppression, culling the voting rolls, and all that. We know from successful campaigns, activists, that you knock on a bunch of doors, it's a numbers game, some percentage will turn out for your candidate.
Right.
Well, what if you knock on a bunch of doors and show up with a rifle? Maybe some percentage doesn't vote anymore because they're terrified of those people coming back. And that is the whole point. It's just low grade terrorism on a mass scale. In particular here with Colorado. And they lie too. I mean, they show up with badges. They call themselves USEIP agents. When you just make up a dumb group, you don't get to call yourself an agent as a result of that. That's not how that works. Agents are operatives of the government. They're official. We can have a problem with what they do, but they're actually vested with authority. These are just random weirdos. that believe the big lie. They're literally going around because they believe that ballots have been cast fraudulently. Like, at the core of this, remember, they believe that Colorado should be a Trump state and that it was stolen. That's why going on a year and a half later, they're still terrorizing individual voters because they believe they can flip Colorado for the 2020 election. These people are absolutely mad and they're armed, and that's a bad combination. Wouldn't it be nice to have some defense, someone on our side actually fighting against these people? But so far, the Democrats haven't shown any desire to actually.
No, and not only that.
Point goes to you.
Final point is that, you've got poll workers and election workers who've been stalked ever since 2020, and they've resigned. They're like, I didn't sign up for this. I was just trying to do some good in my community. So what is the Democrats' response? Just gonna underline your point. What are they doing to prevent this kind of voter suppression? I don't see a plan.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.